sit here with me in this quiet room, and before any words rise, there's already a kind of trembling recognition between us, as if something in you has been waiting a very long time for this moment, waiting for a truth you once knew beneath the surface of your own life. So let me begin with a whisper that comes from a place older than thought itself. When you finally stop searching outside yourself for completion, a door opens inside you that has been locked since childhood. You feel it already, don't you? Like a lantern flickering through the fog, like a path appearing between winter oaks at dusk, like a memory you can't quite place but can somehow feel in your bones. What happens when a woman realizes she doesn't need a relationship to be complete is not a simple shift. It is not an idea. It is not a declaration made in the daylight. It is a night sea stirring. It is a descent into the deep water beneath your life, where the self has been waiting with an ancient patience, and when this realization finally pierces through the old noise, it arrives not as triumph, but as silence. A silence that feels like the forest breathing around you as twilight fades. A silence that feels alive. You have walked so long with the weight of expectations, the ones you inherited without knowing, the ones whispered to you by voices that could not see your depths, the ones you carried as if they were yours. You know that weight, the weight of believing you must be chosen to be whole, the weight of believing you must be accompanied to be real, the weight of believing that completion lives somewhere outside your own skin. But something else has begun to speak now, softly, insistently, from the place where your shadow keeps its secrets. Listen, there is a truth rising in you, like a slow tide. The one who looks outside dreams, the one who looks inside awakens. You may have heard these words in some forgotten lifetime, but now they are not words, they are an inner gesture, a turning, a reorientation toward the lantern glowing at the bottom of the well you once feared to enter. There comes a moment in every woman's life, though not always in the same season, not always with the same intensity, when the illusion of incompleteness cracks. Sometimes it cracks quietly, like frost breaking on a winter window. Sometimes it cracks violently, like a storm splitting an old oak. But however it cracks, it reveals a truth that had been waiting beneath it all along. The truth that you are not half of anything. You are not a fragment. You are not unfinished. You were never meant to be completed by another life, only mirrored, challenged, expanded, but never completed. And the moment you see this, truly see this, something profound begins to happen in the chambers of your psyche. The animus, that inner masculine presence, shifts. It no longer appears as a phantom projected onto those who could not hold your depths. It no longer appears as longing dressed in someone else's silhouette. It withdraws from the world outside and returns to the temple within you, where it was always meant to stand guard. And when that inner figure returns home, you feel a settling. You feel a warmth rising like alchemical fire low in the belly of your being. You feel your spine lengthen, not physically, but symbolically, as if some ancient queen inside you has risen from her throne of stone. You have known relationships before, some soft, some trembling, some sharp as a blade. You have known the hunger to be understood, the ache to be seen, the longing to be chosen. These are human things, tender things, but beneath them, deeper than them, there is a well you have avoided because its water seemed too dark, and yet here you are now leaning toward that darkness, sensing that something in it belongs to you. There is a moment, and perhaps you are in it now, when you realize that the ache to be chosen was never truly about another person. It was the ache to choose yourself, to stand in that quiet forest clearing inside your own soul and say, I am here. I am whole. I am not waiting for anyone to complete what was never broken. And the forest listens when you say this. The shadows lean in, the wind slows. Even the stones seem to shift in recognition, because this is not merely a thought, this is an initiation, a crossing of a threshold older than language. The night sea journey begins the moment you recognize that the love you sought outwardly was a reflection of the love you abandoned inwardly. And when that recognition settles in your chest like a warm coal, the transformation begins. Do you feel it even slightly in the margins of your awareness? The sense that there is something more true than the stories you've lived? Something more ancient than the scripts given to you? Something quieter but steadier than the aspirations you once held toward partnership? This is a self speaking, not as an idea, not as a goal, but as a presence, a moonlit mountain rising in the distance of your inner landscape. There is a saying I once heard in a dream: no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. And these words are not harsh, they are not meant to intimidate, they are simply true. Because a woman cannot stand fully in herself until she has faced the parts of her that feared solitude, the parts that feared abandonment, the parts that feared their own magnitude. The roots must sink before the branches can stretch. So let us walk gently, slowly through this moment in your life. Imagine the two of us sitting here as the light from the lantern softens even further. Imagine the forest outside this room growing darker but more alive. Imagine the path beneath your feet becoming clearer even as the world beyond recedes. There is something you have begun to sense, something that whispers from the edges of your awareness. You do not need to be completed because you were never split. Let that settle. Let it echo through you, the way footsteps echo in an ancient stone corridor. You may feel resistance or relief or both. That is natural, for when this truth rises, the old wounds also rise. The inner child who once felt unseen, the shadow that once clung to unworthy hands, the forgotten versions of you who believed they had to earn love by dimming their fire. They gather around you now, not as burdens, but as companions in your awakening. They want to be integrated. They want to be brought home. You can almost feel the presence of that younger self, perhaps sitting beside you on the forest path, holding a small lantern of her own. She is not asking for someone to complete her. She is asking for you, for your gaze, for your attention, for your willingness to descend into her world and bring her into the light. And that descent is the alchemy. That descent is the turning of lead into gold. That descent is the moment a woman realizes her wholeness was never lost, only waiting. A relationship cannot grant this. A partner cannot bestow it, not because partnership is unimportant, but because it is secondary to the relationship you cultivate with your inner world. When that world is tended, when the well is no longer feared, when the forest is no longer avoided, then any relationship that arrives becomes an accompaniment. Not a remedy, a harmony, not a correction. And here is the quiet truth emerging now. When you no longer need a relationship to be complete, the relationships that once attracted you fall away, and the ones meant for your soul begin to appear, not because you are trying, but because your energy has changed. Your boundaries have changed. Your shadow is no longer starving. Your animus is no longer projected outward. Your inner child is no longer abandoned in the dark. You stand differently. You breathe differently. You choose differently. There is another whisper that rises in this room now. Ancient, gentle, unhurried. A woman becomes radiant not when she is loved by another, but when she remembers the fire within her own being. You have felt that fire before, perhaps only in glimpses, perhaps only when everything else fell away. But it is here now, warming you, illuminating you, burning quietly behind your sternum like a small sun. And as this fire grows, something remarkable begins to shift. Your solitude becomes sacred. It is no longer an emptiness to be filled, but a sanctuary to be honored. You move through the world with a different gravity. You become like the winter oak bare. Yes, but strong, essential, rooted in a way that no storm can uproot. You become like the moonlit mountain, solitary, but radiant. You become like the deep well, dark, but filled with living water. So let yourself breathe into this truth, slowly, reverently, as if you are stepping deeper into the forest with each inhale. You do not need a relationship to be complete, because completeness has always been your original state. You were never merely seeking love. You were seeking the mirror that would lead you back to yourself. And now, in this room, in this moment, you are beginning to see that mirror not in another face, but in your own reflection rising like dawn from the still lake of your being. And this is only the beginning. There is more that wishes to rise, more that wishes to be named, more that wishes to come into the lantern light with you. Something in you is stirring now. Isn't it something subtle, like the shift of wind through a forest of winter oaks, something quiet but undeniable, like a ripple moving across a deep lake beneath the moon? This stirring is the sign that you are crossing an inner threshold, not because you forced it, not because you decided it, but because the deeper layers of your being have reached the moment when they no longer wish to pretend smallness. And when a woman reaches this moment, the moment she senses in her bones that she does not need a relationship to be whole, the world inside her begins to rearrange itself. Feel it, the rearrangement slow, deliberate, like stones settling in an ancient riverbed after a storm. There is a soft collapsing of old illusions, a gentle dissolving of patterns that once held you captive. The kind of dissolving that happens without effort, simply because it is time. You may not even fully understand what is dissolving yet, but your body knows, your breath knows, your dreams know, for there are archetypes moving in the depths of you now, shaping, unshaping, reshaping, guiding you back toward yourself. Let us linger here in the dim golden glow of the lantern beside us. Let the shadows on the walls breathe and shift as if they too are alive. Let the forest outside press its quiet presence against the windows, as though the whole world is listening to what is emerging in you, because there is something emerging, something you have carried since the beginning. It comes as a whisper first, an intuition barely formed. You are enough even when no one is watching. You are enough even when no voice outside of you is echoing your worth. You are enough even when the world is silent, even when the path is empty, even when the night is long, and perhaps you have never been told that, or perhaps you were told but never believed, or believed but could not feel. But now the feeling begins. And feelings, once awakened, are like water rising in a well that had long been dry. They rise from beneath the surface and reveal everything that was waiting under the silence. You sense this rising, don't you? Not as a rush, but as a slow, inevitable tide moving through your chest, through your ribs, through the quiet places of your heart that once curled inward like leaves in winter. And as this tide rises, something else becomes clear. The loneliness you feared was never a verdict on your worth. It was an invitation, a doorway, a path lit by the faint glow of a lantern swinging in the mist. Loneliness was the forest calling you inward. Loneliness was the night sea, inviting you to step into its dark waters so you could discover the treasure hidden in its depths. Loneliness was not abandonment, it was initiation. There is a presence rising inside you now, the self not as a concept, but as a living mountain of moonlit stone. It stands unshaken, it stands older than your fears, it stands with the patience of ages. And when you touch it even lightly, you begin to feel what wholeness truly is. Not perfection, not invulnerability, but a completeness that comes from knowing who you are beneath the noise of the world. And in this knowing, something extraordinary happens. Your inner child steps forward again. She has been waiting in the shadows, holding her tiny lantern, watching you wander through other people's stories. She has been waiting for the moment when you would turn toward her with softness instead of shame, with curiosity instead of avoidance. She is the keeper of your earliest truths, the guardian of your original wholeness, and she steps toward you now because she senses that you are finally able to hold her without collapsing. Kneel to her in your mind, gently, slowly, and watch as she looks up at you with eyes that have never forgotten who you were meant to become. She does not ask for someone to love her in your place. She asks for you. She asks for the simple, radical act of belonging to yourself. And when you lift her into your arms, symbolically, Inwardly, you feel something warm open across your chest, like an alchemical fire blooming from deep within the furnace of your being. That warmth is integration. That warmth is the healing of fractures you did not know were still tender. That warmth is the moment a woman stops believing she must trade pieces of herself in exchange for affection. You begin to see now the old you, the one who sought love through pleasing, shrinking, bending, was only doing what she knew. She was trying to survive. She was trying to be chosen in a world that taught her her worth was conditional. But the new you, the emerging you, does not negotiate with her own essence anymore. She does not dim her lantern out of fear that its light will scare someone. She does not grip the hands of those who cannot walk beside her. She does not beg shadows to become clarity. There is a truth rising behind your sternum, glowing like molten gold in the alchemical vessel of your chest. What you seek from another becomes holy only when you no longer seek it out of need. Let this truth sit with you. Let it breathe. Let it echo through the chambers of your inner life. Because now you begin to walk differently through your own psyche, like a woman traveling a stone path through a moonlit forest, no longer rushing to the crossroads where another figure might appear, but listening instead to the rustling of the trees, the murmur of your own blood, the whisper of your own intuition. You walk in cadence with your inner world now, not chasing, not waiting, just being. And this being is not passive. It is powerful. It is a kind of power that cannot be taken, only revealed, the kind of power that grows from the soil of your own depths, the kind of power that has no need to prove itself. You feel its roots now, spreading beneath you like the roots of an ancient oak, reaching down into the shadowed layers of your being, anchoring you to what is real. And what is real is simple, though not easy. You were whole before anyone touched your life, and you will remain whole long after their footsteps fade from your path. As this truth unfolds, the animus within you steadies. It no longer flickers like a restless flame seeking embodiment in another person. It sharpens, it becomes a sword of clarity at your side, a guardian of your boundaries, a quiet companion walking the forest path with you, but never overshadowing you. It is no longer a projection, it is an ally. And your shadow, too, the parts of you you once rejected, they rise not as enemies, but as teachers. They emerge from the dark edges of your psyche like figures stepping out from behind old trees. They do not come to haunt you. They come to return what you abandoned. They come with the memories of your power. They come with the strengths you exiled in order to be acceptable. They come with a fire you once feared would burn too brightly. Invite them in, slowly, tenderly, the way you might invite a cold animal into the warmth of your home. And as they enter, notice how the room inside you grows fuller, richer, more alive. For a woman who integrates her shadow becomes a woman who cannot be manipulated again, a woman who cannot be diminished, a woman who does not enter relationships to fill a void, but to share the abundance of her being. And this abundance, it deepens now, like a river widening as it flows toward the sea, like a well filling with clear water after years of drought, like an alchemical flame growing brighter. turning the lead of old wounds into gold that shines softly through your skin. You have changed already, though the world may not see it yet. But the forest sees, the shadows see, the lantern light sees, and your soul sees. You are becoming a woman who stands in her completeness, not as a defiance, not as a rebellion, but as a natural unfolding of her own being. A realization forms now, slow, like mist taking shape above a dark river. You can love deeply without losing yourself, because you no longer mistake love for survival. Sit with that, let it hum through you. Let it rewrite the oldest story inside you. And as it rewrites, notice the room around you. The light has shifted, softer now, gentler, almost as if the lantern flame senses the transformation happening in you and wants to honor it. You are returning to yourself, step by step, breath by breath, like a traveler coming home after a long journey through other people's worlds. And this is only the middle of the path. There are deeper truths waiting, darker forests to enter, brighter fires to stand before, greater unveilings to receive. There is a deeper silence settling between us now, not an empty silence, but the kind that fills a room with presence, the kind that reveals the shape of things you could not see before. You may feel it in your chest, in the slow, widening breath, in the way your attention drifts inward, the way a lantern flame leans naturally toward its own center. This silence is not absence. It is arrival. It is a self stepping closer, carrying truths you are finally ready to hold. And one of those truths begins to rise now. Faint at first, then clearer. A woman becomes most herself when she is no longer afraid of her own company. This awakening does not come as a shout. It comes as a soft turning of a key in a lock that has waited for years. And perhaps you feel that turn now, the subtle release, the uncoiling. Let yourself breathe slowly, as if each inhale draws you deeper into an ancient forest, where the path is illuminated by moonlight filtering through bare winter branches. Everything here feels quieter, older, truer. The air carries the scent of cold earth, oak, bark, and the faint sweetness of memory. And you walk through it, not as someone searching for a companion, but as someone reclaiming her kingdom. Because when a woman realizes she doesn't need a relationship to be complete, she steps back into the sovereignty of her own soul. She no longer begs the world to reflect her worth. She no longer searches for confirmation in the eyes of those who cannot see. She no longer bargains with her essence for a taste of belonging. Instead, she returns to the throne that has always waited for her, the throne of her inner life, carved from shadow and starlight. There is a saying whispered by those who wander the deeper forests of the soul. The gold you seek lies in the cave you fear to enter. This is not a metaphor you must decode. It is a truth you must experience. Because what you fear within yourself, your loneliness, your longing, your unmet needs, your anger, your tenderness, these are not flaws. They are gates. They are guardians. They are the very forces that carry you back into your own wholeness. And now you are entering that cave, not with dread, but with curiosity. The lantern in your hand glows softly against the stone walls, and the deeper you walk, the more you see that the shadows are not enemies. They are the unclaimed aspects of your own being, watching you with quiet knowing. They recognize you. They have waited for you. And as you step closer, they soften, they step forward, they offer their hands. This is individuation not as a concept, but as a living pilgrimage. You are gathering the scattered pieces of yourself. The maiden who wanted to be adored, the warrior who swallowed her voice, the healer who carried others until her own bones felt hollow, the mystic who whispered truths into the dark but feared no one would hear. They are all here now, standing in the glow of your lantern, ready to be welcomed home. You may feel a tremor of unsteadiness, a mix of fear and familiarity, because these inner figures are not strangers. They are you, versions of you, echoes of you, and as they step closer, there is a sensation like touching warm stone, like dipping your fingers into a deep well and feeling the water rise to meet your palm. This is the merging that begins when a woman's wholeness awakens from its dormancy, and the world around you begins to shift in response. The relationships you once chased no longer call to you with the same force. The validation you once craved no longer tastes the way it used to. The fears that once dictated your choices lose their authority. You feel it, the loosening, the releasing, as if old vines wrapped around your ribs are finally falling away. This is what happens when the inner architecture reorganizes itself around truth rather than longing. And yet, there is no coldness in this independence, no bitterness, no withdrawal out of fear. It is not a retreat, it is a return to your essence, a return to the well at the center of your being where the clearest water runs, a return to a solitude that does not isolate but nourishes. You begin to realize that solitude is not the absence of love, it is the presence of your deepest love. There is another whisper rising through the room now, as gentle as snow falling in a silent forest. What you run from gains power over you. What you face transforms you. These words fall into the deeper waters of your chest and ripple outward. And as the ripples settle, clarity forms. You did not fear relationships. You feared losing yourself. You feared the silence within you that you had not yet learned to trust. You feared your own depth. But now, look at you, sitting here, breathing into the vastness of your inner world with a steadiness you once thought unreachable. You are no longer the woman who needs someone to choose her to feel alive. You are the woman who chooses herself in every breath, in every moment, in every quiet turning of her attention inward. And because of this, you are changing in ways that are both subtle and profound. Your boundaries sharpen not as walls, but as clarity. Your intuition strengthens not as guesswork, but as guidance. Your presence deepens not as performance, but as authenticity. Your relationships past, present, future begin to rearrange themselves according to your new center. Some people will feel you slipping away. not because you rejected them, but because you no longer vibrate at the frequency of your old wounds. They cannot follow you into the forest of your wholeness if they are unwilling to walk their own. But others will be drawn to you in a different way, not for what they can take, but for what they can meet, not for how you bend, but for how you stand. This is the paradox of awakening. The moment you no longer need a relationship to be complete is the moment you become capable of the deepest kind of relationship, one built on presence, not fear, on freedom, not attachment, on mutual revelation, not mutual rescue. Breathe with that for a moment. Let it settle into the spaces between your ribs. Let it echo in your bones the way a distant call echoes across a valley at dusk. And now, let us return to the forest imagery that keeps accompanying you, like a symbol rising again and again from the unconscious. Imagine yourself standing beneath a canopy of bare oaks, the last light of evening faint on their branches. You hold a small lantern. The path before you curves gently into the mist. You are alone, but not lonely. You are accompanied by your shadow, your animus, your inner child, yourself, all walking beside you as a single, integrated presence. This is the woman you are becoming. This is the woman who no longer seeks completion because she is completion. This is the woman who no longer abandons herself to avoid being abandoned. This is the woman who understands that love is not found, it is revealed through the depths she has reclaimed. And here, in this image, something else appears, a mirror suspended between two ancient trees. Its frame is made of dark wood, smooth from centuries of moonlight and rain. You step toward it, slowly, feeling a soft tremor of anticipation. For in this mirror, you will not see your face as the world sees it. You will see your essence. Approach closer, closer, until your breath warms the surface of the glass. At first you see only shadow, then the faint outline of your features, then the glow of the lantern reflected behind you. But then something shifts, and you see yourself not as you have been, but as you are becoming. A woman whose solitude is not emptiness, but altitude. A woman who carries the forest inside her. A woman who knows the sound of her own soul. Look into her eyes. Do you see the fire there? Do you see the clarity? Do you see the steadiness that can only come from knowing you are whole? Let this image imprint itself into you like a symbol carried from a dream, like a message etched into stone. And as you gaze, one more ancient truth rises from the stillness around us. A woman is never more powerful than when she stands alone with her own soul and does not tremble. These words do not boast. They do not separate. They do not harden. They simply reveal. They reveal the transformation you are undergoing now. Your completeness is not a shield. It is a source. Your wholeness is not a fortress, it is a homecoming. Your solitude is not an escape, it is a sanctuary. And you feel it in the softening of your shoulders, in the widening of your breath, in the way the quiet no longer feels hostile but holy. You are not alone in the darkness. You are accompanied by everything you reclaimed from it. And this journey, this unfolding, still continues. There is more rising from the depths, more waiting to be revealed, more light waiting to meet you in the forest of your soul. Do you feel how the room has changed, how the air feels denser, calmer, almost as though the shadows themselves have leaned in to listen to what's unfolding in you? This is what happens when truth begins to settle into the deeper layers of your being. The world inside you quiets. The noise loosens. The forest breathes with you. And in this quiet, another revelation begins to rise. Not sudden, not loud, but like a spring bubbling up from deep beneath stone. When a woman realizes she doesn't need a relationship to be complete, she is not becoming hardened. She is becoming clear. She is not withdrawing from love. She is withdrawing from the illusions that once disguised themselves as love. She is not closing her heart. She is closing the wounds that once demanded to be filled by someone else's presence. And as she does, something ancient awakens in her, something older than her fear, something older than her longing, something older than every story she lived before she learned to listen inwardly. This ancient thing is her essence quiet, steady, luminous, like the flame of a lantern held in cupped hands. It does not flicker for attention. It does not fight the wind. It simply glows, because glowing is its nature. Let yourself feel that glow inside you, warm, deliberate, gathering in the center of your chest, like embers rising from an alchemical fire. This is the fire that transforms everything it touches, the fire that turns dependence into presence, longing into sovereignty, emptiness into fullness. And now that the fire has been lit, it will not go out again, not because you must guard it vigilantly, but because it is self-sustaining. It burns from within you. You may sense now a kind of internal reorganization, like the shifting of unseen gears, the aligning of inner constellations, the settling of truths once scattered across your life, like stones after a storm. You feel more anchored, more centered, more rooted in the deep soil of your own being. This is the quiet miracle of remembering your wholeness. And with this remembering comes an unexpected gentleness. You begin to treat yourself differently, not with indulgence, but with reverence. You choose solitude not to escape, but to hear. You choose silence not to hide, but to see. You choose stillness not to isolate, but to return. There is no desperation here, no frantic rushing toward connection as a way to avoid yourself. You sit in your own presence the way you might sit beside a well in the forest, with curiosity, with gratitude, with awe. And from this place, relationships no longer feel like engines of survival. They feel like offerings. They feel like mirroring pools. They feel like rivers that may merge with yours for a season or for a lifetime, but never to replace your source. You do not collapse into them. You walk beside them. You do not shrink to be held. You expand to be met. There is a truth whispering through the lantern light now, one that rises like mist from the forest floor. The one who fears solitude will always cling. The one who embraces solitude will always choose freely. Feel the weight of that truth. Feel its freedom. Feel how it unlocks something inside you that has been yearning to breathe. Because when you no longer need a relationship to confirm your worth, your choices become cleaner. You no longer accept crumbs because you know you are not starving. You no longer tolerate half presence because you are fully present with yourself. You no longer bend into shapes that hurt your spine because you have learned to stand upright in your own essence. The shadow within you shifts too. It no longer lurks as an unnamed fear. It no longer drags you toward those who cannot hold your light. It no longer cries out through patterns of abandonment and attachment. Instead, it becomes your compass. It becomes the dark soil from which your strength grows. It becomes the guardian of your boundaries, whispering warnings when something does not align with your soul. And your inner child, she grows quieter now, not because she is ignored, but because she is held. She sits beside you on the stone path in the forest, her little lantern glowing softly. She feels your presence and relaxes. She feels your protection and breathes. She feels your wholeness and knows she is no longer alone. And in her calmness, you feel a calmness too, a softening that spreads through your body like warm water, loosening the last remnants of old tension. This is what completeness feels like, not the sharp triumph of independence, but the soft fullness of returning home. Imagine again the night forest surrounding us, tall winter oaks stretching their branches toward the dark sky, the mist swirling gently around your feet, the path winding forward into places unknown. You walk calmly, the lantern swings lightly in your hand. The moon hangs above you like a silver coin, and the deeper you walk into this forest, the more you realize you are not seeking anything here. You are remembering. Each step reveals something that was always yours. Each breath draws you farther from the noise that once shaped your choices. Each moment brings you closer to the center of your own being. And now, as the forest quiets even further, a new presence enters your awareness, subtle at first, then unmistakable. It is the self, not as a mountain this time, but as a vast, clear lake under the moon. The surface is still, reflective, infinite. You kneel beside it, lantern placed gently at your feet, and gaze into its depths. What you see is not your face. What you see is your essence, vast, luminous, untouched. You realize something profound here, something that ripples outward in every direction. No relationship, no matter how beautiful, can add to this essence. It can only join it. This recognition is not painful. It is freeing. You understand that love from others is a blessing. But love from yourself is the foundation. You touch the surface of the water with your fingertips, and gentle ripples expand across the lake, shimmering under the moon. These ripples are your relationships. They come, they meet the surface, they widen, they fade. But the lake itself, your essence, remains whole. As you rise from the lake's edge, your shadow steps beside you, no longer behind you, no longer hidden, no longer calling from the dark. It walks with you now, steady and loyal. It holds the memories of your wounds, but it no longer defines you. It honors your strength, but it no longer demands your fear. It becomes a companion, not a captor, and your animus emerges too, standing to your left like a silent guardian, not a force seeking embodiment in others, but a clarity within you, the clarity that knows what aligns, what doesn't, what honors your being, what diminishes it. This presence is not controlling, it is guiding, it walks beside you as you continue through the forest, ensuring that your choices mirror your truth. Together you, your shadow, your inner child, your animus, yourself form a circle of wholeness that no relationship could ever create, but that every healthy relationship will someday recognize. And now something else rises, a realization that hums like a low chord beneath everything around you. You no longer enter relationships from emptiness. You enter them from fullness. This changes everything. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you offer. It changes what you seek and what seeks you. Because you are no longer a woman searching for completion. You are a woman carrying completion. This fullness does not repel love. It refines it. It filters out those who cannot meet you. It attracts those who can walk beside you without dimming your light. It ensures that whoever comes into your life must come with presence, with respect, with depth, because anything less cannot breathe in the forest of your wholeness. Let yourself feel the steadiness of this truth spreading through your body, the warmth at the base of your spine, the grounding in your legs, the openness in your chest. Feel how your breath slows. Feel how even the lantern light seems to glow brighter in response. The forest around you holds its breath. The shadows steady themselves. The air becomes cool and clear. You are not who you were when you entered this place. You have descended, you have remembered, you have returned. And the world will feel different now, not because it changed, but because you did. And yet, there is still more unfolding, more rising, more waiting to be spoken in the quiet of this room. Because the journey of a woman discovering her completeness is not a single revelation. It is a series of unveilings, each deeper than the last.